Greetings and welcome to Nathan Lyle Official. If you've never seen my face in a video before, my name is Nathan Lyle. This is my personal channel where I do vlogs, reviews, and anything else that happens to catch my fancy. If you're having trouble hearing me, it's because the heat is on. It's like 40 degrees today, so you know. But anyway, I'm bundled up, and I just wanted to do a quick video. I could end up editing this. I'm probably not going to. Yesterday, I watched a movie, which you can probably tell by the title, is Ghostbusters. And while I'm going to talk about the franchise as a whole, just to give some context, I'm mostly talking about the newest one, Frozen Empire. I think that's the title. I don't know. We'll double check some of my facts. Got me a thing of hot cocoa right here. Anyways, yeah, I watched Frozen Empire, and for my personal opinion, best Ghostbusters movie ever. Now, let's get into the context of the situation. Ghostbusters, the first two movies, I think both came out before I was born, if I remember correctly. I think they were both in the 80s. And so, I definitely, I watched them, I watched the movies, I watched the cartoon, I read some comics. I enjoyed Ghostbusters. I never loved Ghostbusters. I thought this is some good movies. This is some entertainment. I didn't bother learning the names of any of the characters until I was in my 20s. I've always enjoyed Ghostbusters. I appreciate Ghostbusters. I've never once considered myself a Ghostbusters fan. And so when the third movie came out, the girl one, which is just called Ghostbusters, but for the sake of this video, we're going to call it Ghostbusters 3, just so that we're not getting confused. I still have not watched it, and I have no plans to watch it. I mean, when it first came out, there was like a tiny bit of excitement, but there's also just, from the very beginning, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, you're going to do the exact same story, except now they're girls. And there's a lot of great girls, because Kate McKinnon, one of my all-time favorites to ever come out of SNL, Leslie Jones, hilarious. Like, the whole cast looks great, and that's what scares me, because Hollywood does have a habit of being like, oh, we just have to put some great people on the screen and people will watch it. It doesn't matter if the movie's high quality or not. And then the movie came out, and I have yet to hear anyone say anything good about it. So, yeah, I cannot just muster enough desire to actually sit through this thing. And so, yeah, I haven't watched it. But then Afterlife came out, and there was some good things said, there was some negative things said, but I think overall a lot of the dedicated Ghostbusters fans loved the way that it was handled. And so I ended up being like, let's give this a chance. And I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I mean, I think it was mostly forgettable, if I'm being completely honest with you. But it wasn't a bad movie. I had fun sitting through it. And then Frozen Empire, when the trailer dropped, it looked kind of epic. But once again, I myself, never that excited for Ghostbusters. And honestly, I feel like I completely forgot it existed until it popped up on my screen. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Did I ever see that? The answer is no, I didn't see it. A lot of people didn't see it. Apparently, it did decent, but nowhere near what they were expecting to do. And an expectation is going to be a huge theme for this particular video. So, let's talk about, the biggest, because, one of the things is that, its second week, it was going up against Kong New Empire, which I definitely remember, and I definitely saw. And so there's a lot of reasons, so that's part of the reason why it didn't do as well. But I think one of the biggest issues that a lot of people had is that they feel like this Ghostbusters is not a Ghostbusters movie, because Ghostbusters at its core has pretty much always been comedy. This one, even though there's a lot of comedic elements, it's a comedic undertone in the backdrop of a more serious movie. it feels much closer to like the way Marvel does things, where like it's a serious movie with serious stakes, and there's some funny elements to it, but it's not a funny movie, you know? And I think that's an issue that a lot of people have with this one. But for me personally, as someone who, like I said, as much as I enjoyed Ghostbusters, I've never been a fanatic about it. So, like from my perspective, when I say this is the best Ghostbusters movie, I'm not even necessarily saying it's the most entertaining or that it's like, and I understand when people say it doesn't really fit the brand because you go in expecting just a comedy, you go in expecting a laugh track, and you get a hardcore drama. I understand there being disappointment. But I didn't go in there with any real expectations other than just, okay, I'm going to hit play and I'm going to see a movie. And for me, I enjoyed it. It fits like my aesthetic pretty well because it's like, it is a pretty serious drama, and there's some shit that happens in there that, without going into spoilers, there was one specific moment that I was like, holy shit, are we actually doing this? Because technically, if we get into like the specifics of it, technically there is one moment with like serious implications if you do overthink this specific moment. But we're not going, you know, you know what? We're gonna get into it. You already know my personal opinion, so skip ahead to like the last 2 minutes of this video if you don't want to hear spoilers. So I'm gonna go into some spoiler shit right now. Because it's technically, you have a teenage girl unaliving herself. Like, legitimately, that's what happens. A teenage girl who spends the entire movie feeling, kind of unknown and misunderstood and unwelcome, decides to remove her soul from her body. It's one of those where, like, you can get away with it because based on legal definition, she wasn't officially dead. But it's like, she literally ghosted herself. And it's like, oh wow. Like I said, it's one of those things that if you overthink it, it has some serious implications. But I feel like most people don't bother looking too in depth at that. And I get it. I mean, it's Ghostbusters is never supposed to be a make you think kind of movie. It was a make you laugh movie, right? And so, but yeah. Anyways, overall, I thought it was a great movie, and I think when I say it's the best Ghostbusters movie, I feel like it's one of the most well-made movies. There's a lot going on, and I feel like, if you could take out half of the characters and it wouldn't change the story at all. There were some moments that were in there just for the crowd reaction. There are some moments that don't really help the story. It's just comedic. There's a lot of shit going on, and I get that was another complaint I saw in a lot of reviews. It is very busy. There's a lot going on, and much of it isn't necessary. So, I do understand those complaints, but I think overall, when you look at the fabric of it, very well-made movie, good story, well acted. There's a lot of good things that happened here. It went well. But I also understand, like I said, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, I can understand this being your least favorite Ghostbusters movie because it's the least like a Ghostbusters movie. But I think for someone, like I said, I only casually view, and as I mentioned before, no expectations. I just wanted to see a movie. Didn't even care if it was bad, just let's see it. And I thought it was entertaining, thought-provoking. It made me want to pay attention to it. And I actually was thinking about it as I'm making the review, looking at the people in the movie. You got the original Ghostbusters, which let's compare them to the previous Ghostbusters movies, okay? Because the OG Ghostbusters, Venkman, and all the others, whatever their names are, they're basically the first movie. Hilarious, A bit cringy at times. Definitely, probably have some outdated views points. If you think about it too much, it gets worse. But still, people love it, and there's no reason. And we understand it's a product of its time. No reason to cancel them. I'm in love with the Coco. Anyways, and then you have Paul Rudd, who's Ghostbusters 2, which, by the way, is it just me or has Paul Rudd barely aged at all in the last 32 years? Well, anyway, Paul Rudd, Ghostbusters 2. Not as good as the original, but still funny in his own right. Fits very well with the tone of what they're doing, of what's been established. And then for Ghostbusters 3, I'm going to give that one to the older brother, who I think is the kid from Stranger Things. I have never seen Stranger Things, but I looked up the actors, and I think he was the guy from Stranger Things, whatever. So yeah, the older brother is basically the Ghostbusters 3 of this movie, because I really feel like he didn't actually add anything to it, and I wonder, was his presence actually necessary? If you removed him from the movie, would it change any specific plot points? Barely. Maybe, but not really. I don't know. I can't. And then the mom will give her Ghostbusters 4 because, like I said, well, Ghostbusters Afterlife, in my opinion, kind of a forgettable movie. It did okay. It wasn't inherently bad, but I wouldn't describe it as amazing. But like, if I'm being completely honest, my personal favorite thing about Ghostbusters Afterlife is that it led to Frozen Empire. And so for Frozen Empire, yeah, guess what? That's the little girl. The little girl is the Frozen Empire of the family, and Frozen Empire is the little girl of the Ghostbusters movie. No, smarter than the rest, but heavily misunderstood. And you know what? Definitely not for everyone. But it's one of those things where, like, the people who do love this movie will probably love it intently. So, yeah, that's. But I also understand why everyone wouldn't love it. It's certainly not for everyone. But personally, I think it's a great movie. So, yeah, those are my opinions. Let me know, have you seen the movie? How do you felt about it? Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that other bullshit. And until the next time you see my face in a video, my name is Nathan Lyle. Hope you have a great day, week, month, year, however long it is.